Hello, friends. Welcome to the Catholic Wire. This is Father Carlos Cepeda today with you, and I decided to do this show live for several reasons. One was, hold on a second here. There we go. That's why you don't want to go live. Always those things happen. And you can see that this studio is just a mocking studio. Um, in case anyone joins, I don't know if anybody's going to join because I gave 5 minute warning to people. But I wanted to make it live in case anybody has questions, if anybody joins. So this movie, I would not have watched it, to be honest. I didn't care for it at all. And I don't watch movies very much. I went to watch it because I have a friend that was actually very concerned about this. And, he has been sharing with me that this whole notion, this danger of the alien deception, the idea that the government and the establishment is pushing this idea of aliens and aliens coming into the earth in order to push, you could say, a new order, and particularly the abandonment of religion. And I remember the first time that we discussed this, I actually told him, he really wanted me to make a video about this. And I said to him, look, I don't really worry about that too much. We are already in the great deception. Like, how could it be worse, especially right now with what is happening in Vatican II? So I never really paid a lot of attention to it. He convinced me to watch the movie, and as I watched the movie, I was, to a certain extent, a little bit shocked, surprised, you might even say, that of how clearly this movie really portrayed all those things that he had said to me. Basically, it was the portrait, even the thesis, you could say, of those things that he had mentioned. So we're going to cover the movie and why I think is bad. A movie can be bad on three grounds. It can be bad on the sense of the art of it, the quality of the art of the movie. It can be bad on the messaging that it has, the what it's telling you, what it's teaching you, or it can be bad on the program that it follows. A movie might not have a terrible message in itself. It might not be, the worst. It could even be passable, you might say. But if it's cooperating with a program that has the message in a more clear fashion that is worse, then it can also be, it's a step towards that, right? At the end of this, we will discuss what should our spiritual take be on all these things. So, the first, let's talk about the art of the movie. I don't want to get into this too much. I know that it's not very important. You don't need a priest to tell you these things. But, Catholicism has to do a lot with beauty and truth, with art. And so I think that is also a good aspect to cover. A good story was the movie was bad. I mean, the just artistically speaking, it was bad. I remember at one point that the movie theater is empty where I watched it. Then again, I'm in Georgia. People have, as I said before, better things to do. There's like four people sitting in there, and a couple, I think, left halfway through the movie. I was probably three-quarters into the movie, and I was thinking to myself, do I really need to be here? I mean, I just want to go. This is so boring. A movie has to have three aspects, I think, that are essential for it to be a good story. The first one is you have to have a conflict. You have to have a main problem, a main conflict that gets solved throughout the movie that leads you to a climax, to a moment where you get excited about it or worried, where you get troubled, whatever. It moves you in a certain way. And then that climax comes to a conclusion. This movie is a repetition of the whole thing, of the same thing for 2 hours to reach no conclusion. Like from the beginning, you know what's happening, and at the end, you know exactly what's happening. And from the beginning, you know what's going to happen. At the end, it happens, and there's nothing new revealed. There's no resolution of a conflict. Nothing. It's just 2 hours of the exact same thing, with a few intense action sequence, a few of them. So no arch. A good movie also should have a certain development in the characters. You relate to the characters, you come to love them, you find something in common with them, and you go through that process with them. Something that is exciting is, again, something that that you can relate to, where the character at the end is not the same person that he was at the beginning. There's very little of that, if anything at all. But really, no, the characters remain basically the same that you saw them at the very beginning of the movie. And then the last thing that a movie should have, a good story, is that it leads you to discover something, to come to a knowledge that you didn't have before, or to reveal a mystery that you didn't see at the beginning, something like that. Again, nothing like that is in this movie. It's just pure propaganda thrown at your face, spit at your face, I should say, uh, with as much art as a baby would have was spitting at your face, and nothing interesting about it. So yeah, on those three things, there's nothing remarkable. The art of it is mediocre. The music of it is mediocre. The photography is mediocre. The special effects are mediocre to the extreme. The acting, you could say, is, yeah, it's acceptable, right? So that's when it comes to art. That's the main factor of it. Um, Now let's go to the messaging part. The messaging is the part that I think is really interesting. The What is the main message of the movie? I would say is to bring about anti-Catholic agnosticism, or worse, anti-Catholic superstition. And by superstition, I mean obviously the belief in aliens as a form of, as an influential form of life that is coming here to do something different for us, something even supernatural. That is the definition of superstition: to believe that something that doesn't exist or that can exist but is just natural that it has supernatural effects. The movie is from the very beginning anti-religion, but it's anti-religion of the only true religion, which is Catholicism. And here's where this movie is just trash for any believing Christian. It is a shameless, poorly framed propaganda against Christianity. So let me begin by telling you a little bit of the story. I won't make any what do they call that? Uh, Spoiler alerts, because I don't care if I spoil the movie for you. I mean, the movie is spoiled already, so if you watch it, it's totally your fault. You shouldn't watch it at all. So no spoiler alerts. This is all a spoiler altogether. The movie begins with this. There's four characters, I guess, that are the main ones to focus on. We'll put five. First, there is a girl that is in the news. You've seen her in the trailer, and she becomes, you could say, possessed to a certain extent by the alien powers. So she is the one prophet, the female prophet, you could say. Then there is the male prophet, which is her counterpart. You could say the Adam and Eve of the movie. And the male prophet is the guy that also has some alien features. You could say he received some alien powers. None of them really know where it comes from. None of them know how far it goes. But here's the other character, right? So these two guys are like the messengers of the aliens, the guys that were abducted when they were children, and now they are participating. They are functioning as the alien messengers. And then attached to these guys, I won't speak of the characters that are less relevant. To this guy that is Daniel, I think is his name, there is his girlfriend, who is very significant. We'll go into that. Now, there is the guy that the movie begins with, actually, is a villain. The villain would be the guy that is a government employee. He's like that guy that is in charge of the whole government operation to stop them from the disclosure that this guy is trying to do of the alien, of the truth of the alien, supposedly. So there is the villain, and then there is the villain counterpart, which is a guy that also used to work in the government, but now is working to bring the disclosure about. So the arch of the movie, the story is basically that these two guys, the two prophets, the two messengers, are being pulled by this guy. He's a black guy that is the ex-government employee. He's pulling them to bring about the disclosure, and then there is a government employee that is a bad guy, and he's trying to stop that. So the whole movie is basically the persecution of these guys and how this guy is trying to stop them. through whatever means necessary, and at the end he doesn't succeed, and they end up doing the disclosure. So propaganda stuff. Yeah, it's super demonic. The propaganda stuff begins from the very, very beginning. The guy that has all the alien information, Daniel, he's running away from the government, and especially from the. If you guys have seen it and you remember the names, tell me. I don't care about the names. Don't watch the movie. But he's running away from the government, and it begins from the very beginning, belittling Catholicism and the vocation. They run away and they go into the monastery where this woman had been a novice. She had been a nun. From there, the movie, I was ready to throw up. Uh, so nothing terribly bad happens there, but they come to the convent. They are sheltered there, and the guy says, "You were a nun," and she says, "Yes." And from there, they start building religious vocation and planting seeds to question the faith. The guy says, "So when did you stop believing in God?" And she says, "I never stopped believing in God." Eventually she will say, "I stopped believing that God was divine," right? But the reason why she abandons her vocation is one very stupid that I won't even mention here. But from there we start, putting those seeds against the faith. At some point, and this is where the movie gets into shameless propaganda. They're running away, and at some point she says, "You have to tell me everything." And so he opens the laptop and he starts showing her pictures of aliens and videos of aliens and all the stuff. And shameless, as subtle as 7 tacos with hot pepper on your stomach at midnight, uh, they put the propaganda there. And this girl says, "How are you going to disclose that to the world? Don't you see what harm you're going to cause to the world? Because people are going to stop believing in God." Is the last thing you would think of. Like if someone shows you aliens, supposedly, nobody cares about that. No one would link that to religion or stop believing in God because of that. If you have a mind, if you have a brain, there's no reason to stop believing in God. But here they use that to put the real message that they want to show, which is, "Oh, you should not believe in God." So she says, basically, she says, well, that's where she says, "I stopped believing that God was divine, but it's still very important. Religion is very important to keep order and to keep harmony in the world, and da 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 da." Basically, the message that she gives you is that religion is useless and unimportant, except as a social control, as an instrument of control. And that is the part where it's, again, I say, a subtle, terrible message that they're trying to give you. Um, from there, you see what the purpose of this movie is, to bring about agnosticism, to bring about a lack of respect or even a lack of faith. Um, so this is the first problematic scene, which is bad enough. Like with that, I think it's bad enough to say, don't watch the movie. But then comes another scene, which is very, very significant. So this girl and the guy are hiding in a house, and the bad guy, the government guy, apparently has access to some alien technology, which is just some form of stick. Which, now that I think about it, that has a lot of Masonic implications. He has a form of stick or a scepter that when he grabs, if he gives himself to it, he's able to get into the mind of other people, to possess them. And so this is the part where it gets really dark. The guy that has all the alien information is walking around. This girl is alone. The Catholic girl is alone. And the villain guy takes the stick and appears to her in a vision. And so she starts talking to him. She starts hearing him and talking to the guy. And at some moment, he even possesses her. He even comes into her body and is able to make her body do things that she doesn't want to do and tell him things that she doesn't want to tell him. Now, this is something that is very worrisome, because all the symptoms that you see this girl having, and also the symptoms that you see the prophetess girl, the news anchor, having, are symptoms identical in everything to possession. The news anchor, when she gets her alien powers back, you could say, is able to speak in different tongues. She's able to know things that are happening, even though she's not present at them. She's able to realize things that have happened in the past to different people. And these are all symptoms that happen actually to a possessed person. That comes with distress, and it comes even with the failing of her body at times. So in all, everything that you see there is like, yeah, that's a possession. That's a diabolical possession. Now I know that they'll say, "Oh, he didn't mean to do that." I don't care. The problem is, it does show that. The scene with this girl when she starts being possessed by the villain guy and she starts having this discussion with him is what's very concerning, because the girl starts trying to fight this possession by grabbing a crucifix in her hand, and she's holding the crucifix and trying to pray, Jesus, Jesus, and holding the crucifix very tightly as the guy is possessing her. And that avails her nothing. So remember, the message of the movie is Catholicism, Christianity is obsolete, it's useless even, and it's going to be leading to, it's going to be just something that will be abandoned for something higher, for something better. So this scene in its core, it's a very big symbol of what the movie tries to portray. The girl is holding the crucifix and she starts bleeding from her hands. And again, it avails her nothing. And she even starts saying prayers in Latin, which is again a symbol, the Latin and the religion that has that avails you nothing. And it doesn't help her. And at this moment, there is two very blasphemous things that are typical of the Jewish Cabal and that are part of the messaging. The guy says to her, "You're Catholic," and he says, "I am Catholic too," or "I was Catholic. I can't remember. I went to Catholic school." And he starts saying, comparing the bilocation to an alien thing, or just blaspheming about the miracles of the saints. And then he quotes blasphemously again the words of our Lord in the Garden of Olives. He says, "Remember those words, not as I will, but thy will be done through me," or something like that. He misquotes it, and I'll get into that in a little bit, to signify that he's going to take the will of the girl, that he's going to possess her. So that's the first big problem, the first big diabolical thing there. And then comes the big symbol. The girl drops the crucifix as useless as it didn't help her. And in the pool of her blood, the crucifix falls. And very intentionally, you see, when the crucifix falls, she has a wound in her hands, and it falls in there. This is obviously a stepping on Christianity and a disrespect to the cross of our Lord. There is that is something very typical in movies that come from the Jewish propaganda machine in Hollywood. And a lot of times people want to find significance. There is significance, I'm sure there is, and I'll give you one at the end of it. But a lot of times it's not even a significance. It's just the desire and the fact of disrespecting the cross. For Jews, every time that and when I say Jews, I don't mean Jews as a race. I mean, again, the Jewish Cabal, or Kabbalah, however you want to mention it. For them, any opportunity, any chance that they have to put the cross under something, to step on the cross, to make it appear as disrespected or useless or trashed, they will do it. They will do it. It's a custom. It's a thing that they have to do. There's something very interesting in the fact that neither the girl, when she mentions the exorcism in Latin, is totally mispronounced. It's not even a real exorcism. And when the guy mentions the words of our Lord, it's also misquoted. And there is two reasons for that, I think. One is the disrespect. But the other, I think, is that for both this cabal and for the devil, that is probably the main person inspiring this movie, they don't like to say the words of our Lord, and they don't like to say real prayers. They want to avoid that. It's something very, very displeasing to them. And that's why you will always find these quotes in the Bible misconstrued or not properly done. Let's see here. There's a comment. Yeah. If you have any questions, comments, please make sure and you leave them there in the chat. So that's the very problematic scene. It's a lot deeper than it seems, and I'll get into that. Another scene that is interesting is at one point this villain appears in the same way through that instrument, through that possession, to the good guy, the black guy that was an ex government worker. And he appears to them, and they have this interesting dialogue where basically the guy is saying, "Why are you trying to do this? You're going to cause havoc." And the black guy, the good guy, is telling him, "No, why are you trying to stop it? You know, you've lost yourself, you've become an evil person, etc., etc." And there is the scene in itself is not, there's nothing big to mention about it. But what is very interesting about it is there had to be a fly bothering me right now on a live stream, especially. There's no chance for me to kill it on camera. There would be violence on live. It's probably an alien. So the part that is very significant is the guy says, uh, what we're reaching, what we're trying to reach, you know, what this is all going to bring about is empathy. And that resonated with me immediately because of the whole program that we will mention in the future in later on in this video. What distinguishes Vatican II and what distinguishes the New World Order is precisely that push on empathy, meaning the acceptance of everyone, no matter what. No matter what, meaning there's no morality, there's no more truth, there's no more nations, there's no more law. It's just about empathy, right? Is the union of the human without regard of the divine. We'll get into that later. Okay, so let's get into the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, the two prophets, the woman and the guy, they're put together and they have to relive the moment of their abduction. Now, for that, it says right there, you know, they're put together in a house and they're basically reliving all their lives. And they're given this device, again, the device of the possession. And they tell the girl specifically, that she has to give to itself entirely. She cannot reserve anything. She has to deliver herself to it, which again is a very significant thing for possession. And we come into the whole. This is, you could say, the solving of the conflict, where they see in a vision how they were abducted when they were children. It's kind of a Disney scene where you see animals coming, and the animals are supposed to be aliens hiding under the shape of animals, and they see again themselves being abducted. And from there it comes to the point where they go to the news station and they start working to do the disclosure. And as they are getting to do that, the bad guy gets there, but as he gets there, they realize all his resources are gone. And so he just sits to the side and he gives up. He lets them do the disclosure. And in the disclosure, what what they say that they're trying to do actually happens. The news media and all these networks, very significant that the disclosure doesn't happen through social media. It doesn't happen through a grassroots movements as you would think would happen nowadays. It happens through the establishment, through CNN and MSNBC and all these networks, right? And so these guys are all talking about the World War III and the conflict and how humanity is about to kill themselves. And they even say, "Are you wanting for me to uh, stop the news about this World War III for this?" And they say, "Of course, yeah, this is very important." And so the news anchor comes into the camera and she starts telling everyone that there is aliens, and they put all the videos of the aliens out into the camera, videos that are very, very flashy, very important. And at the very end of the movie, they bring about this old alien that speaks to the two prophets, to the girl and the guy, and he gives them this long message. The girl comes back to the camera and she doesn't say the whole message. She simply says, "I'm about to give you this message." And she says, "Listen." And the movie ends. And you're left with like, 2 hours, 2 hours of this for nothing. Okay, so that is the movie in itself. That's the end of it. Now, allow me to get. I kind of gave you the worst part of the messaging in the things that happen. I'm not going into detail a lot. Allow me to get into the parable of the movie. This is what's really interesting, the significance of it. What are they trying to do? When you see the movie, it would seem to have major plot holes that you say, like, how is that even? How does that even make sense, right? For example, the fact that the villain at the end, he's standing right there. They have guns. The reporter is there. He could shoot them. He could do something to them, and he just decides to sit back and let it happen. You would think that's a big plot hole. It's not, if you know what the message is. So the villain, we have learned, is Catholic. The girlfriend of the protagonist, of Daniel, is also a Catholic. But at the end, these two Catholics end up taking very different views, very different approaches. The girl submits and surrenders to the idea of the empathy of the aliens, while the other guy is left helplessly to sit on the side and watch his efforts vanish. Humans are wrong all along, and the aliens come to resolve that. The aliens come to become, as they even say it at one part of the movie, the supreme beings. They come to become the agents of the new order. Now, if you pay attention, the villain in the movie is the old Christianity, the conservative side. Everything about him shouts conservatism. Conservatism in the sense of a Catholic conservatism. Uh, Not quite, but go with me for a moment. He is the figure of a father. He's bearded. He has white hair. It is told at some point that he was a husband, wife. A husband man. He says himself that he was Catholic. He says that he's trying to conserve the previous order. He says all those things. So he represents the old Christianity, the old order. And that's why at the end, he's fighting and fighting against this new order. And at the end, he has to sit down and simply watch it happen. And that's a message from Spielberg saying, you fighting for the old order, you fighting for the old establishment will fail. And you will have to sit down and see this new order come about. And then there is the girl that this is a symbol that is super interesting because you see it from the beginning. She is the new Christianity that abandons her vocation. She says it that she abandons her vocation for sexual reasons, mainly, not necessarily sinful, but because she cannot contain herself for a lack of chastity. And so it is this new Christianity, the Novus Ordo, the Second Vatican Council Christianity, that has come after that abandons its vocations, that abandons chastity, that abandons the practice of virtue. And even as she says it, abandons the belief that God is divine. It stops believing that God is divine in order to embrace this new message, this new order. What is that new order? That God is man, that man is God, meaning evolution, that humanity is what matters. And that's why she even says it. Like, the whole reason why we keep this establishment, this order, is because it keeps the order in the world. That's her priority, right? And so that's why for her, the alien message resonates. So she represents the Novus Ordo, the Vatican II Christianity, the false Christianity, attached to that Protestantism, which is basically the same, that goes along with that. And that's why also you see that in her conflict with the old Christianity, she drops the cross in her blood. She drops the cross in the last effort that she made. And so that is the part that is very interesting in the movie. This conflict between the new Christianity and the old Christianity. And so Spielberg here is trying to say something. He's giving you a message. Christianity, the old Christianity will have to sit down to the side and it will disappear. And the new Christianity, he says, as a good Jew, I wonder if YouTube is going to block this video. The new Christianity will give in to this religion of empathy, the abandonment of the old forms and the embracing of the religion of the superstition, of aliens, of whatever you want to call it, and the new order, the new age. Let me see here the comments a little bit. Steven Spielberg loves smoking and stealing from our tradition. Totally true. Yeah, totally true. Hey, I know who you are. Thank you for joining. Um Catholics, especially priests religious in modern movies, are always portrayed as severely struggling with their faith, of course. It's shown as being the norm, the obvious result of following true religion. Never happens with Muslim or evangelical Protestant characters, though. Exactly, and that's so that's one important thing to mention about this movie. I'll get into that. I want to finish first this. So this parable of the movie is what I think is dangerous. Not dangerous. I would say it is dangerous, but it's is the real evil of it. I think that the people that were making the movie, they didn't care about aliens. They didn't care about any of that. They cared about the message that is bringing about, and even the word that they used to finish the movie is significant. The order that God established in the Old Testament, when God reveals Himself to the Hebrews, and Steven Spielberg would know this very well. He was a Jew. Uh, I have nothing against Jews as a people. Well, let's not get into that. Oh boy. Uh, Steven Spielberg would know this very well. For the Hebrew people, the main prayer, the Our Father, you could say, of their faith, is the Shema Israel. That's what they call it, Shema Israel, which means listen, Israel. The Lord thy God, the Lord is one. And then it goes into the commandments, the Ten Commandments. For them, that is the thing that you learn as a child, is the Shema Israel, is the most sacred thing that you can have, is the establishment of God's divine order, where He says, I am the supreme being, I am the God, the Lord, thy God, the Lord one, which, by the way, is a very clear statement of the most holy Trinity. Shema Israel, listen, Israel. Steven Spielberg here ends the movie knowingly, willingly, with those exact words, not the Israel, but he says Shema, listen, to signify that we're starting here the new order. Now the Supreme Being is not, instead of saying Shema, the Lord thy God, the Lord one, he's saying Shema, the Lord thy God, the Lord is me, is the evolution, is the aliens, etc., right? So even that has a deep meaning to it. So let's, now that we've said that, that kind of covers the movie in the very basic way in which I would. Uh, let's cover some of the questions here, some of the comments. So Fran is mentioning how they never mentioned the other religions in other movies, and that is very true. And that's something I mentioned in my little short about this. This movie is supposed to be aliens against religion, right? Like aliens against, you know, the futility of religion when it comes to the new alien revelation. Why don't they mention Buddhism? Why don't they mention Islam or Hinduism or any of those things? Well, they probably know that if they mention Islam, they get their heads blown off. Which I won't get in trouble, but you know what I'm thinking. Uh, I can't help it. I should not be making podcasts. Um, but also, it's very significant, and this is something kind of encouraging to you as a Catholic, how evident it is that they know that there is only one true enemy to fight. Everything else is a lie. Everything else is a scarecrow. Everything else doesn't matter. The only true enemy to fight, the only true religion, the only true faith is not even Christianity as Protestantism, which is not true Christianity, is Catholicism. Like that is the enemy. And not even Catholicism in its new form, but Catholicism in its old form, in the Latin, in the cross, in all those things. And so it's encouraging for me, at least, to see, okay, if they're all aiming at that, at us, then at least I know that I'm in the right place. At least I know that this is the true faith, the true religion, because everybody knows, especially them, the cabal, the establishment, they know that the only true enemy is us, is the true faith, the true Catholic faith, the traditional Catholic faith before Vatican II. So that's encouraging on the one side. Orthodoxy asks, do you think people will be disappointed with the film? I haven't been given any of my free time to look into the reviews. Please don't, it's useless. Yeah, I think people will be very disappointed. I don't think this movie is going to cause any stir at all, if any, because it's bad. It's a bad movie. It's just boring, and I think the word of mouth comes around, and people just say like, "Don't watch that. It's just boring." It really seems like the rant of an old Steven Spielberg was wanting to put out, his propaganda. Um, but so let's go into that. Do I think the movie is that significant to even make a video review of it? No. What I think is interesting is this movie is part of a larger program. This movie is part of a bigger issue, of a bigger course, so to speak. This is class number 7 in a whole series of classes in a school program, and that's what I think is interesting, and maybe a little bit of concern. What is it that they're aiming at? What are they trying to do? Now, if they're pushing this idea, if they're pushing this idea of aliens and aliens coming, and this is something that they're pushing it, not just Steven Spielberg. You see the government coming out and releasing the UFO files, and you see this being pushed on Facebook, and you see that being pushed on podcasts, and people are saying that they're having these experiences, and now the movie is coming out, and the movie is even is even blunt enough to say, oh yeah, through the establishment, through CNN, MSNBC, and all that stuff, is being pushed as an agenda. So what's the point? There's two theories that could happen, and I think both are equally bad. The first one is what my friend insists on, which could be true, that they're going to try to do an alien deception. That at some point we're going to see aliens coming down from the sky, and they're going to tell you, oh, aliens exist, therefore Christianity has no point, has no meaning. The aliens themselves might say, well, you humans have been slaughtering yourselves all this time. Now we come to bring you peace, and now empathy. Empathy is the message. Basically, the same message that John Lennon wrote in Imagine. No religion, no countries, no divisions at all. You are the gods. You are the end of it. You are the end of it all. The alien deception. That would come about with the actually peace among the nations, and it would come about with the message of Vatican II. All religions together, keep them as your cultural, whatever you want, but they're just basically a club that you get into. But let's bring all religions together under this umbrella of the alien deception, of the alien peace. That could happen. I'm not saying it's not possible. To me, it seems like they would be going too far. I don't think that's even needed. I think that Vatican II and the political aspect of it would be enough. It could happen. So that's one theory. That would be bad enough. For that, what's the solution? We have to be strong in our faith, and we have to understand that even if we see anything like that, it's either false or it doesn't mean anything against religion. If you were to see an alien come into the world and appear in the heavens and tell you, we come from the planet, whatever, um, and something like that were to happen, is that means nothing against your faith. And even if it brings all the evidence of truth, is not the truth. Is not the truth. If it speaks against Christ, is not the truth. Saint Paul himself said that. Saint Paul himself said, if an angel appears to you and tells you something against the faith, is not true. Don't believe it. That's false. So that's number one. That's the only solution we have against that. The other theory that could happen is that this alien deception is in itself a distraction. It's another way to bring dissension, to get you out of what's really important, of your salvation, of the truth about the church and all these things. And they don't mean to do maybe this revelation. They never mean to bring these aliens upon the earth, but they mean to bring another thing to distract you and to cause arguments endlessly, and to cause podcasts endlessly and YouTube videos endlessly and all those things, in which I'm participating maybe right now. And so here, this leads me to the conclusion of the video. This would be for me as bad as anything else. All the discussions about whether if the earth is flat or round or whether if this or that. And this is just more part of it. It's basically throwing uh, poking the wasp's nest, throwing another piñata for everyone to jump at, and just here entertain yourselves and forget about the fact that you're being led by a government that is, protecting pedophilia, the fact that you're being led by Jewish, the fact that you're being led by the Vatican II false religion. Stop arguing about all these things and argue about something totally meaningless, as would be the aliens, so the existence of aliens. And that for me, again, as I say, would be just as bad. It would be something just as bad. So it leads me to the conclusion of this video. Um, what is the best thing that we can do? I mean, do we need to worry about all these things? Do we need to pay attention to them? I think that what they really want us to do is to stop worrying about our salvation and to stop doing the good things that we can do in this world. The best lesson I can give you about this movie is don't watch this movie and don't pay attention to all these matters. If it's not to stop someone from going into error, that's the only reason why I think we should. But other than that, these matters are are pointless. They are distractions. Worry about the good that you can do for your country, for your family, for your faith, locally, globally, even in your country. But worry about the practical things that you can do and to keep your faith as it is. And notice that the big distraction, the big problem right now are the things that are leading souls away from the faith and away from salvation and away from the church. The only reason where I find this worthy of argument is when you see someone getting into the error and you need to bring them out of it, as it would be with anything else, right? Any other topic. When it's leading them away from the faith, away from their salvation, away from the benefit of their families, away from the prosperity and the practice of virtue, Catholic virtue, that's when this is worthy of discussion. And that's why I'm doing it right now. Other than that, we shouldn't. Other than that, these are topics that are not as relevant as it is simply the salvation of your soul. To be honest, the reason why I made this video was, well, first because I needed some social interaction, and I'm glad to have it here with the chat. um, but the reason why I made this video was because I thought to myself, even if I don't think is that relevant, there are souls out there, young souls especially, your children, your young people, that when they can watch these things, they can be harmed. And so for those souls, for those few or many, I hope not, for those souls is that I decided to make this video to point this out and to prevent the harm. Let me get into the comments a little bit here. We read, Spielberg is also a big supporter of AI, interestingly. He even mentioned using it to plan some of his projects. AI is being used to force people into a singular worldview. I think that's very true. AI, I don't want to step into my own tongue. How do you say that in English? I don't know. Shoot my foot. I will confess I have used very limitedly AI. I think it's, and oh man, people are going to hate me for this. I think it's going to come to a point where it is unavoidable to use it. I want to use it in a very limited way, as you would use a computer. I think that to not use it absolutely is commendable, as it would be commendable not to use computers or not to use a cell phone. But it will come to a point where you will have to keep up with everyone, and you will have to use it to a certain degree. I hope not too much. But that doesn't stop from, at the same way that I use computers and phones, and I can acknowledge that they form part of an agenda and a plan to destroy mankind and to bring our doom. I think that AI is the same. AI is part of that same program, and it will lead eventually to the point where, yes, we will become so dependent on it that they will be able to put everything into one message, and AI will become your dad and your teacher and your pastor and your lawyer and everything like that. So that's very dangerous. Reading a little bit more of the comments. If we stay separated on issues about the earth being donut or flat, then we can come together and focus on actual issues. Bread and circus, father. Tried and true method. I truly think people are beginning to grow tired of them, though. Yes, exactly. And don't get me wrong, I don't say, I mean, I can understand when people are fascinated by scientific issues. I think that the shape of the earth is a scientific issue. I myself would be interested in, I am interested in that. My point is simply that there are priorities, right? And so I don't, as interested as I am in that, I'm going to give my priority to things that are more relevant and important right now for salvation. And if I get into that, it's as a side issue. Um, the circuses are real, and they're trying to make us all little keyboard gladiators, as I sit here typing. True, very true. And I must confess, I find that also a lot of fun to go into X and start arguing with people. Uh, but well, what can we do? So that's my take on the movie. I promise I will try to announce live streams if I ever do another one. I'll try to announce them with more in advance. All the true warriors and loyal friends that came today into the program are the guys that are like, we'll support you, father, no matter what. I gave like 3 minutes in advance, and they're over here. But if you have any more questions or comments, drop them down below. As they say, subscribe, support us, uh, and yeah, leave your comments, because I'm gonna start making more podcasts just on coming, just entertaining, basically live streaming, just to again get some social input, and that will be fun to do. I hope this helped. Pass it around, send it to people. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of comments telling me that I didn't understand the movie and how I'm an idiot because I didn't understand the movie, and aliens are great and all that stuff. Looking forward for those comments. Those are the funnest ones to answer to. Say a prayer for me. I'll pray for you. I'll check out one last comment before we go. I have used AI, and I agree with you, Father, that it's difficult to avoid completely. But Spielberg has been working against the true faith since he was 18 years old. True, very true. I want to give you guys something. I want to leave you with this. This is something that my dad mentioned to me long ago. He passed away now. May he rest in peace. Say a prayer for him. But he mentioned to me, he said he loved movies, and he always had a very good take on them. And he said to me once, pay attention every time that they show something bad. Not every time, but a lot of times. When they show something very bad, like a murder or an abuse, or a dad shouting to his daughter or something, oftentimes they will put something in the back, like a cross or a picture of the Sacred Heart or a crucifix in his, on his shirt, something to point out to Christianity. And actually, I'm glad that came up, because that's another very important part. Your children or yourself, people might say, well, I'm going to watch the movie. It's not going to harm my faith in any way. I have a strong faith. No, no, it does harm your faith, because there is something else that they call, I don't know if it's called that way in English, neuro-linguistic programming. And that is, I'm putting different messages to you with this thing or that thing. I have a logo here of the Catholic Wire, and that logo is telling you to watch the Catholic Wire, even if you're not paying attention. It's neuro-linguistic programming. So when I watch a movie, and this is one of 300 movies that speak against Christianity, and I've watched all those 300 movies, that's programming. And after watching that, eventually, at some point, something will come, something else that will knock me out of my faith. And it will help that I have been listening to that message 300 times for 2 hours, 600 hours, right? So that's dangerous too. Even if you consider yourself to be strong in the faith, even if you consider yourself to be a person that knows your faith, being exposed to this constantly harms you. It harms you. And it makes you much more vulnerable. It's eroding the foundations of your house, and it makes you much more vulnerable to, at some point, fall from your faith. And that's how you can explain that a lot of times our teenagers, when you never see it coming, at some point something happens that knocks them off. Is because the foundations were eroded many, many times by movies, by other friends, by music, etc. So that is true. Everything you see or don't see on a screen is intentional. With these movies, no mistakes, of course. Is that Saint Galgano's sword behind you? I'll have to ask to the person that gave it to me. Um, yeah, I think this is why reading, watching, comprehension is so important. If we pay attention to ingredients in food, very true. If we pay attention to ingredients in food, we should pay attention to the ingredients in movies and shows, good and bad. Well, I have to let you go because I'm all lightheaded now. I haven't eaten anything significant. Thank you for joining to the live stream. We'll do that a lot more often. We need a few more things in our stage. We worked very hard in this stage, thanks to the generosity of those who allowed us to have it. God bless you all. This is Father Carlos Cepeda for the Catholic Wire. Have a good day. How do you end the stream? Oh, here it is.